Ah, okay. Do not open the wrong game this time. Pillars of Eternity. Okay. I felt pretty freaking stupid last night about opening the wrong game. I just got a lot of games on my mind. I got a lot of games on my mind of what I need to play. Yep, this one, PoE 2, Pathfinder Kingmaker, or my next run of Pathfinder Kingmaker, and hopefully we can actually get through a full run of that. So, we're still planning out working on a build, trying to figure out what I want to play. And then Solasta, which is probably gonna end up being next on the list of games to play. And then after Solasta, it should be Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. Oh, I'll be excited. So where we left off in this game yesterday is we just got into this area.
That older set? I don't want to discuss it.
I'm sorry, what was that? You just talk to yourself, Aloth. Workless Club. Heyo, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Okay. I think Aloth just talked to himself. This ought to get real interesting. There's a spooter down there. I'm not going to.
Poor Meerwald. He couldn't contend with all that he knew of himself. A cruel fate.
I don't think knowledge was the problem. He said that if I can find out what caused this, it might help me. That is true, and there is no such thing, in my experience, as too much knowledge. Kana smiles. Come, we'll find your answers and mine, I hope. There's that. I gotta keep an eye on that because apparently he actually had something to say. So I need to keep my eye on it.
Hey.
I think we're gonna spend the beginning of the stream talking to everybody and getting to know them.
What's on your mind?
Okay, so I wanted to ask about you. I didn't ask anything else. I started that, and then I clicked off because I was getting a little bit over my time last night. Okay, so, what did you do before this?
Oh, other than the war, I never strayed too far from where you found me. Farming, mostly. I was never much for cities. Never learned a trade. In my younger days, I thought I was going to go preach the word of Aethys. Just in our temple there. My parents encouraged it. I made so much trouble for them growing up. They used to say it'd be best if I got in good with the God of Redemption. Of course, us blowing him up probably didn't help my chances there.
Probably
But
not.
if anybody'd forgive you for blowing him up, it'd be Aethys.
Who's my favorite so far? Unsure, because so far I think it's Aloth. Just the first encounter with him was just so weird and kind of crazy, and just realizing that he's apparently he might be have actually split personalities. Aloth is going to be interesting, but I want to talk with everybody first. That way I can get to know them a little bit. Did the people of Gilded Vale really try to kill you?
They did. It was strange timing, because we just won the war. They celebrated when I came home. There was music and dancing. Trumbull used half his grain making this big honey cake. I still dream about that cake. Like having the best lover of your life, but only for one night. And they were all sorry to hear about my brother. Took a while for word of the purges to reach us. Aethasians being murdered in the streets. Cold Morn and the like. No way would they let something like that happen in Gilded Vale. That's what they all said. But the weeks went by and the purges spread. Pretty soon they weren't so sure my brother fought for Deerwood. And they weren't so sure I did. Caught me by surprise after all the celebrating. Should have seen it coming after the tailor said he was going to fit me for some new clothes, but then all he wanted was my neck measurement.
Really?
Nah, not that last part. But you had to think about it. Says a lot about the place I've been calling home all these years.
Ooh, 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Oh, and boom. I give it a second. There we go. All right. Why did you stay for so long in a town that hated you?
Well, I'm sure my parents are still wondering the same thing. The Aothasian purges were like this madness had come over the town, like a disease. Seems like when you see something like that, your instinct is to wait for it to pass, even when you know it probably won't. The family whose farm I worked on, they had a little Hollowborn girl. And they heard the Animancers had this cure, salvation it was called. They went running. This salvation, they were putting animal souls in children. You might have heard about it, giving them enough personality to care for themselves. Well, you can guess how that turned out. Matter of time, the children broke down, became wild things, monsters.
Oh, is that those those child vessels that we fight over out in the wilderness? Ugh.
Anyway, these farmers put the family dog's soul in their little girl. For a while, the girl, she's making eye contact, she's feeding herself, albeit in a kind of messy way. Then one day she snaps. They found her gnawing on her brother's bones. Had to chain her up, put her in a cow pen.
Okay, maybe it wasn't them.
Well, the mother, she wouldn't have anything to do with the girl after that. But the father, he'd visit every day, feed her chickens, toss water on her once in a while to get the dirt off. Most of the village, they'd whisper about him. Poor man, they'd say, sick with grief. He was just waiting for his daughter to look up one day and recognize her papa. He was waiting for her to get better. Didn't understand that at the time, of course, but these days I think about him a lot.
Do you have any family? Well, he's been talking about it. Just my parents now. They took a ship back to Adir when the purges started. Wanted me to go with them, but I didn't see things like they did. Been a long time since I've seen them. I really should visit, but for some reason I haven't felt like leaving home. Good thing they chased me out, or I might have never left. I'll ask you about something else. I was wondering about Aethys.
It makes two of us.
What is there to know about Aethys?
If you're looking to find religion, maybe you want to start with a god that hasn't been burned to dust, but I won't stop you. Aethys, he was a young man with a silver crown. Carried a candle around with him. Sounds like I'm giving a bad eulogy here.
He was a lot different. He was a lot of different things to different people, I guess. Rebirth, redemption, light. Out in the country, he's Gone, the farmer, who helps all things pass, seasons and people both. He watches over the weak, does Gone, sees imbalances made right. You can see why all the opulous rowdies around here might take a liking to someone like that. He was real popular here for a time. These days, you won't find too many worshipping atheists in the open. It's hard to know who still does in private, and who's given up. Feels like I'm the last one sometimes. Smirks. If that's the case, he deserves all the mourning. You still worship atheists?
In my way. I don't suppose he expects me to show up at his temple these days. Not much left to do for him other than keep his memory alive and keep hoping that he's just been playing a joke on all of us these past 15 years.
As far as I know, he hasn't said anything to anybody since the Godhammer detonated. Why worship him then? Well, if it turns out he's not dead and I gave up on him, I'd have betrayed my god twice. Even the god of redemption's got to have standards. I'd probably be reborn as a fat Amon's horse. Oh, God. Why did you choose to worship Aethys in the beginning?
Raised that way. My family's been Aethasian going way back. Suppose it wasn't much of a choice at first. Don't know for sure why my family started worshiping him. Probably because of Gon looking after folks like us.
He looks you in the eye, conspiratorial. Could just as well be that my ancestors did something so bad only Aethys could forgive. It explained a lot about where I come to. It explained it. If I screw up any more words, I might as well go ahead and start drinking. Not yet. It's a little early. Could just as well be that my ancestor did something so bad. Okay, it explained a lot about where I got some of my less respectable traits. Did you only worship him because that's how you were raised?
Mm-mm. There was something I genuinely liked about Aethys. Always. Like he understood people better than the other gods. Knew all our flaws and weaknesses and accepted us for that. Folks are at their worst when they're afraid. A god like Aethys, he made you realize there was nothing to fear. Made you a better person. Of course, he goes away for a few years, and look what happens.
What made you think Waidwen didn't speak for Aethys?
Was his actions. I mean, not when he started his rebellion, and not even when he took over Rhaed Saris. It was when he sent his armies into Deerwood.
Up to that point, he was sticking up for his people. That's what Aethys does. At least the Gon part of him. Those farmers were starving and their government didn't lift a finger. I figured if it wasn't Aethys himself, at least he had the right idea. But then he sent armies across the border, even crossed it himself in the end. Word was he was chasing refugees that escaped the rebellion. Wanted to punish them and punish us for allowing them to live here. That just didn't fit for me. Those are the deeds of a vengeful god. Skane or Boudica, maybe. Or just man who'd lost his sense. I still have trouble believing it, but there's no one left to ask if it's true. Tell me about the purges.
You sure you don't want to talk about something more pleasant? Like the War of Black Trees or the Legacy or something?
It's eye-opening. Seeing just how naked you are when you've got no god to protect you. The Saints' War was a hard time to be a Deerwooden. People thought it was the end of times. The end times. They talk big about how we were going to defeat a god, but I don't think there was a man from here to the White March didn't think he was going to die. Doesn't so... What? Times they talk big about how we were going to defeat a god, but I don't think there was a man from here to the White March didn't think he was going to die. That's a weird phrasing. It does something to you. Thinking you're going to die at someone else's hands. There's a rage that comes. Indignation. Imagine a whole country full of that. Might have been Cold Morn that started it, down near the border. They let Waidwen march right on through. Rest of Deerwood cursed their names till the end of the war. Some say it was the Aethasians that persuaded the town not to oppose the army. Others said it was just cowardice. It was like the Legacy that way. No one knew the real reason, so they just picked whichever one best suited what they wanted to believe. Either way, that town was burning before the first ashes of Aethys hit the ground, and it felt good to the people here, to be in control after being so helpless. So the fire spread. A lot of Aethasians went the way of our god. There were claims from the Church of Mongrin that she'd actually commanded the purges. I found that hard to believe. Sounded to me like people doing what they wanted, wrapping their god around it like she was a cloak. Then again, that's what I thought about Waidwen. Okay. Oh, I did talk to you already. I think. How about you? I had a question I wanted to ask you.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skidding your knuckles on the wrong door.
Why were we supposed to meet? The way of it is, the why of it is you're a watcher. A watcher runs two roads of why. For me, it's more a matter of what. There was a time when I wouldn't have spared a thought for your words. or even bothered with you, but now seeking out watchers is what I do. Put the truth to them, see which of the two ways they blend. He smiles slightly, taunting. Truth? What kind of truth? Either you're in a dry field in need of a harvest burning, he frowns for a moment, his eyes flat, or you're lost in the darkness. Either way, you can see differently from others. He gives a half smile, then his tone becomes accusing. I can tell by the way you notice the staff burst off. Not many can see it at first, nor the etchings or the flames, but your eyes. Stares at you almost eagerly, nodding. Your eyes traced the path. That I could see. So which are you, a dry field or lost in the darkness? Durance's face tenses. The day we don't trade that question back and forth is the day our paths no longer need to be joined. And the trial, Durance's hand clenches his staff. The trial is done. So you're putting me on a trial then? You know this nation is diseased. Don't need to be a watcher to see it in the children, the politics, of the men that stalk the roads with knives in hands and a murder in their eyes. This land needs life again. New seeds planted into the buried soil. His voice drops, mocking, and his eyes narrow. And something tells me you can see the path to making that future happen, Watcher. Your kind always does. So then, we need to make sure you see truly now. This nation, its people, don't need any more lies blinding them, nor do I. You test a truth. You don't blindly accept it. And how do you plan to test me? Sharing the road, of course. One truth to match another, matching each other's pace, keeping rhythm. Other priests keep their teachings and rantings. For my faith, my teaching, sharing the road is a simple, hard truth. His smile widens, and his hands tap against the waist once, then twice. And when you knock one truth against the leg of another, why, both legs stand firm. But now, if you strike a lie at the knee with the same force, his smile dies, and his eyes narrow. Why, you make a cripple with but one leg to stand on. Is that why you carry that staff? Is that why Durance is about to launch another volley of words, blinks, then rolls his head back and laughs deeply, the laughter coming until it seems that air will run out of the lungs, until it seems forced. Perhaps your words are worth listening to, Watcher. He frowns, any trace of humor gone. But the truth will win out. Keep pace and we'll see.
The cost of troubling me seems to worry you little.
Rude. I wanted to ask you about the region and its history. Durance grunts. Can you tell me about the Hollowborn?
That's a curse that runs deeper. It's a god hammer of a different sort. And like the god hammer, it was made by men's hands.
All things have a price. Left unchecked, faithlessness, virtues, it leaves marks on souls. Until souls don't have the strength to enter bodies that are pure. Animancers, ciphers, all who play games with the fabric of souls are to blame for the barren field that they leave behind. Even watchers do the same. Some simply watch. Others try to weave souls, guide them as surely as wade wind across even door. Turns away. That is why I correct the Hollowborn when I find them, and the ones whose hands have led to this seed being spilled on the ground. Correct the Hollowborn?
There are fewer souls. There are more vessels. It is simply equaling of the process.
But that's murder, isn't it?
I feel more remorse in putting down a slathering hound, a wict, less than a mongrel in its misery. Murder is a kindness, not a crime. Always has been. I would sooner put the blade to those who are to blame instead. If any spirit should be punished, it's theirs.
And who's to blame? The fields of the Deerwood are filled with weakness, right for those that play with the soul's minds. His face wrinkles in a frown. Animancers and their kind, watchers too. They bear more of the burden than their victims and more of the punishment. Every year has seen a new crime. Saints' War, the Hollowborn, and the Salvation. There is no proof watchers are to blame for these events. There are few who can shape a soul in such a fashion. And any watcher, any true watcher born in the Deerwood, would be able to see the crime even if they did not cause it. Silence itself is damning. Why don't you end me then?
Murder you? I would not grant you any of them. The mercy I grant the Hollowborn. You would not be deserving of it.
You equate murder with mercy?
Murder is an old word. Mercy is letting a soul fly free to the next body. True punishment? Ruining someone to their soul. Crack their spirit like you would crack their skulls with a staff. Beat them. Hurt them in mind and body. So their souls become shards. But you leave it inside the vessel like a bag of glass to either choke on it or pass it through their bloody stool. Then, leave it in the body to think on it, like planting a new field with the right seed.
Sounds like you've committed it to memory.
Many marks may I make upon your flesh, but flame leaves marks that cannot heal. Magran doctrine dictates true punishment is one that remains in memory, in the soul, in the flesh. Even should the victims die, slowly or swift, sometimes by their own hand afterwards, the lesson lingers, burned in their flesh.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong, I suppose. But at the same time, we're starting to get into the religious aspect of things, and I'm like, I don't really want to touch that 10-foot pole. So what? There is a certain justice in that.
Have you seen a man branded by flame? He remembers it always, in every waking movement. It is a lesson writ in the only ink and vellum that matters, blood and flesh. One can burn the soul as well. It is an art, and I do not take pleasure in it. But there is more at stake here than forgiveness. Many of Aethys's faith were punished in the purges following the Saints' War. And the ones that harmed children, they suffered worse.
What do you mean?
We did what must be done. Wherever they were rooted out, their souls reclaimed. And if they couldn't be reclaimed, we ensured they would never inhabit another body.
I wanted to ask about the region and its history. Do you think there's any tie between the Hollowborn and the Godhammer?
Aethys was the god of rebirth, and his light does not fall on the Deerwood. I've heard some claim it's his doing, his death. It's closed the halls to new souls. I doubt it. The Hollowborn have their roots in the acts of men, women. I feel it.
Keep troubling, and I may extend a tithe bowl for each question. Enough question for now. Let the road keep us until the next campfire. Oh, oh. I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that.
Saved out. Following your Elad, I
Do 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 do.
And what does
Boop,
the
boop.
flame reveal?
Ooh. Sturdy. Plus 30 defense against prone attacks. You need a pair of boots. Yep, and boom. Excuse me, sorry. Do. Oh, what the? What are you doing? What are you guys doing down here?
I have.
What the? A shimmering wall of energy extends across the doorway like a curtain. It repels. Forward movement with unnatural force. Oh, did not mean to do that. Boop. What do you do again? Ah. So you can wear this. Oh. You can either wear a necklace or a cloak? Oh. That's interesting. I didn't realize about that. Huh. What are you? Potion of iron. Oh. Meh. Do.
I've been.
He's a beetle. Oh, beetle.
That's it! Keeping quiet.
Keeping quiet. Let's see what these beetles got for us.
Brave thou Philogili.
Oh, that doesn't seem all too good. Boom. I wonder if I can give him like a reach, some kind of reach weapon. 'Cause are there some other weapons in this game that give reach? Hopefully.
Yes?
What? I'm bringing your end. That's it! No good. No good.
Oh, good. Maybe he's only not. Maybe he's missing stuff.
This thing isn't doing the job.
No good.
So slashing and crushing damage? Is that what's not is that what being considered no good right now? Crushing and slashing, yes. Piercing damage is doing okay. So You're slashing, piercing.
Not even slowing it down! Following your lead.
Was he really not doing anything the entire fight? Huh? Oh god. That's kind of funny. That's still pretty good. Not gonna lie, that's still pretty good. Well, to 8 slashing / piercing damage.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which is not very quiet.
Okay. Okay. At least he knows. At least he knows. Oh god. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I think I really like Kana. Combat. Oh, well, okay, let's scoot in.
Hi? Join arms!
Got him.
Oh god. All right, now I think it's time to rest.